Hello everybody, welcome back to Screenstars and welcome to another PlayStation review. Today I'm taking a look at Dragon Age the Veilguard on PlayStation 5. This is a game that has been very much highly anticipated by me and many others, it should be said. I'm a huge fan of the Dragon Age games. I've played all of them. They've all been outstanding in their own way so far, but I absolutely loved Dragon Age The Inquisition that came out, I think, a decade ago now, and I would still put that in my top 5 RPGs of all time. I just thought it was outstanding. I know that game had its criticisms as well, but it was still outstanding in my opinion. Absolutely loved it. So, what do we get with Dragon Age The Veilguard? Well, I'll give you a little bit on the story here. Now, Solos, who you will remember from the last game, who was one of your companions, is the main villain in this one. He is wanting to bring the veil down, if you like, to kind of do what he thinks is the right thing. But in actual fact, what's going to happen when he does that is that many, many millions will probably die from that. So at the beginning of the game, you thrust right into it. You are a character called Rook. You team up with Varric and some others in order to take down Solus and stop this ritual it's trying to do. In doing so, when you actually do stop Solus from this ritual, he kind of gets sucked into the veil, and 2 elven gods get released from the veil, and they become then the 2 main antagonists of the game. Well, when I say the main, Solus still remains, if you like, the main villain of the game, but you then have to deal with these 2 elven gods that have been released upon the world, and you have to put together a team to head out, do lots of different quests, missions, side quests, in order to deal with these elven gods. Okay, so let's talk about the game a little bit. Now, this game clearly has been a little bit diversive as it's come out. It's split a lot of people down the middle. There's a lot of people really enjoying this game, and there's a lot of people are quite deeply disappointed with this game. What a surprise in, this day and age, where people are very, very vocal about what they didn't like or what they didn't get in a game that they've been looking forward to. We've seen it all before. It's nothing new, and it would seem that whatever game developers do these days are likely to upset some corner of the internet. So, what's my take on this game? Well, while I don't think this game is perfect, I actually quite enjoy quite a lot of the changes that's taken place here, because they really have done quite a few changes here. Obviously, Dragon Age has been known for its dark fantasy elements, quite adult elements, and this is, I suppose it feels very much like a tamed down version of Dragon Age in many ways. For me though, there are still quite a few dark elements added to it. You get to see the Blight in its full form, all that kind of stuff. But it's very much more toned back, I think, and I don't think there's necessarily anything wrong with that. They're just trying to reach out to a larger audience, I suppose, and by doing that, they're probably going to rub up some of the veterans up the wrong way, or, fans of the series. But it depends what your feelings are towards change, I suppose. I'm much more relaxed about that. I don't mind change in my video games, unless it's just change for change's sake. And I think they have tried to evolve the series to some degree here. Now, I want to talk about how the game looks, first of all, because it has had some criticism in the way it looks. People think it looks like a Pixar game or something like that. Well, number one, I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing, because I think the Pixar films look excellent. And number two, I don't necessarily agree with that either, because I don't necessarily think they do look like Pixar animations. I actually really like the way the game looks. I think it looks quite beautiful at times. And some of the environments are outstanding, in my opinion. I think they look really, really excellent. And I like the way the character models look. I think they all look really, really good, really, really detailed. And personally, I don't have a problem with how the game looks and the aesthetic of it. Okay, if it's not to your taste, it's not to your taste. But, you know, if they'd have gone with a different look, it probably would have pleased one corner. And if they changed it, you know, to a more traditional Dragon Age look, you know, they would probably get criticised for not doing enough change, so they couldn't really win, I don't think, whatever they did. I think it shows that this game is 10 years after the last one, and if you compare the way this game looks to the last one, Inquisition, which was, in my opinion, a beautiful game too, this one looks, in my opinion, considerably better. But that's just me. I'm, you know, in no way saying that I think this is the greatest looking game ever. I just like the way the game looks, personally. So you've got, obviously, fully voice acted performances here, as you would expect with a Dragon Age game. I think the voice acting is absolutely fine. I don't have a problem with it at all. I think you could argue some of the dialogue is a bit tame. It doesn't necessarily feel like many of the decisions you make have massive consequences. You know, you've got your usual dialogue options, you know, but it's not verbatim, if you like. So if you get an option coming up on screen saying that you don't agree with something and you want to say what that thing says, and then you click it and you actually say something else, you know, in the ballpark of what that sentence was on about. That rubs people up the wrong way. Doesn't necessarily bother me too much. But I think the voice acting is absolutely fine. I think it's of a high quality here. I think the choice system is pretty tame here, but I never really felt like they were massively deep in any other BioWare game. You know, yes, they're always there, especially the Mass Effect games, but, you know, I don't think they've always been massively in depth, the choices and stuff. So the dialogue options don't really bother me that much. The quests are very, very good. Now, I always used to feel really overwhelmed quite a lot with Dragon Age games and even Mass Effect games, because there'd be so many side quests and main quests to do. They'd all be like lined up in your journal or whatever, and sometimes you'd just be like, oh my god, I don't know where to start here. This one feels a little bit more digestible, in my opinion, in regards to how it gives out its quests and side quests. You know, you've got the kind of freedom to do them kind of pretty much when you want. But you don't get like dozens of them clogging up your journal, sort of thing. So you can kind of chip away at them a much more digestible way, in my opinion. So I quite like the way that is kind of set out. There is, obviously, with it being an RPG, there's a skills system that you've got, depending on the character that you choose. And depending on the character you choose, it's completely up to you, because at the beginning of the game, you know, you get to choose what race you are, and then there's a fully customizable create a character screen sort of thing, so you can create how they look, how the shape of them, you know, hair, all that kind of stuff. And it's quite in depth, as you would expect for a BioWare game. And then you've got a couple of other options to choose from, you know, their backstory and all that kind of stuff. Now, I went with a warrior. I always generally go with a warrior in these sort of games. It's my preferred way of playing. And that then leads to, again, something else that a lot of people have been complaining about to some degree, is the combat here in this game. Now, previous Dragon Age games, it's always been quite tactical, I suppose you could argue, with the combat. And the last one, you didn't just control your character, you could control any of your companions as well. Well, that's changed this time round now. It's much more of like an action-adventure game when it comes to the combat, single-player one. You just really control your character and all their special moves and things that you collect as you level up, sort of thing. But there is still a way to control your companions, and mainly their special abilities and things. So there's like a wheel that you kind of press. If you press, I think it's left 2, it brings it up and it gives you like buttons to press to choose them quickly, or if you click, I think it's either right 1 or right 2, and it brings the wheel up and it pauses the combat then, and then you choose what you want to do. And you can kind of prime it as well, the abilities, so that you can kind of choose one of your companions, then the other companion, and then they'll kind of combine and make it an even more powerful attack. I actually really quite enjoy the combat. I know some people, I've watched some reviews that of people that aren't enjoying the combat. They think it's too simple. I genuinely don't mind it. I think it's actually pretty good. I like the abilities that you can get while you level up. It kind of varies it a little bit. It's fast paced, the combat, and some of the bigger bosses that you battle are quite challenging as well. So I don't really have a problem with the combat. I think it works quite well, but I think it will depend on the type of gamer that you are, I suppose. Just accept the fact that the combat's slightly different than you're expecting in the Dragon Age game, but there are still elements of Dragon Age there, because you can pause the combat and make use of your companion's special abilities. So how does the game structure work then? Well, you really need to be clear on this one as well, guys. This is not an open world game. I think a lot of people kind of criticised Inquisition for its open world hubs, I suppose. And I get where they were coming from. I quite like that approach. So I was a bit concerned about the fact that this was probably going to be a little bit more linear than I'm used to, and it is. But I actually quite like it. It's feels like for me, a much more carefully curated game, and it's a bit more linear than you're used to. So you start off in a place called the Lighthouse. Which is your base of operations, basically. You walk around, you talk to your companions, you do this, that, and the other, and then you will choose your mission and head out. And you basically go to these mirrors that kind of transport you around the place. And you can fast travel as well using these other things, and it could take you to the places you need to go quickly, as long as you've unlocked them. And then you go to these almost like, I don't want to describe them so much as corridors, but they are a bit more explorable than that. You can kind of explore around places and find chests and that kind of stuff, and obviously so you can buy better equipment and do all that kind of stuff at merchants. But like I say, they're much more curated spaces that you will go through and fight bad guys as you're moving along. You'll talk to people, have conversations, and then you'll usually have 1 or 2 kind of bosses to kill while you're in there, sort of thing. And then once you complete the mission, you'll level up, all that kind of stuff, and head back to the lighthouse. Again, I actually find this not too bad at all. For me, it's much more digestible. I'm an older gamer now, I don't necessarily have the patience when I was younger, so for me it feels more digestible. If I've finished a mission, I go back to the lighthouse, I can kind of chill out a little bit and then choose what mission to go on next, sort of thing. Do I do a companion side mission sort of thing to increase their bond with me, or do I do a main mission to progress the story? And the choice is yours, really. So this one, I can understand why there's a lot of people not happy with it. Maybe it's not the Dragon Age they expected or even wanted. For me, this is very much a Dragon Age game. Underneath it all, there are still elements of all the things that you love about Dragon Age, like the dark fantasies there in a way. The characters are there. I don't think they're as memorable as in previous Dragon Age games. I will say that about the characters. The game structure is very similar to what you expect. So there are the bones is there of a Dragon Age game. It's just not, if you like, in your face, really adult, mature, and they've made some changes. I don't see the problem with that. I really don't. If you don't make changes, and then you get criticised for not making changes. So I feel they've tried to evolve the series here a little bit. I don't think everything's worked, but I think it is a decent attempt, and it's a game that I am absolutely enjoying my time with. So thanks for joining me for this review, guys. I hope you liked it. I hope you found it useful. I hope it's helped you make up your mind whether you're going to give this one a try or not. If you've got your doubts, then it makes sense just to wait for a sale, doesn't it, guys? For me, I'm about almost 50 hours into this now. I'm loving it. I'm quite enjoying my time. And the acid test for me for a game like this is always, am I looking forward to my next game session? You know, am I looking forward to opening up the game and continuing on with missions, etc.? And these days, there's not that many games that make me feel like that, but this game absolutely did make me feel like that. I was looking forward to my next game session. So take from that what you will, guys. If you pick up the game, I hope you enjoy it, and I thank you very much for joining me for this review.